All right, here we are with another Saturday Night Live with Ed Wellville. He's been with us for a long time. Since 2015 when we started, not long after we started, Ed joined the MFS realm and started making some massive changes. And from many years of him already deciding to take charge of his health, and he was, found some more information from what we were sharing, and many years later, working at him with himself and for himself, and believing in himself, he's no longer bedridden. Isn't that amazing? Two of us here that were bedridden. You beat by many years, but
yeah, not a fun place to be. But
I wasn't nowhere near where this situation you were at, but I was bedridden for weeks on end, and sometimes a couple of months at end. Couldn't basically do anything. It was wonderful feeling, wonderful experience, but not a good feeling. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we're just getting together here, doing some catch up. See what's been going on in your life, Ed. It's been a while, and I'm sure many people would love to hear, what's been happening and where you're at now, and so on and so forth, so that people can see that everything's friggin' possible. There's nothing that's impossible. Nothing is impossible. So if anybody's coming in, I just let them in.
I admitted Lisa there. Hi, Lisa. Bill.
Lisa.
Been a while.
So let's hear what's been happening with you, Ed, because since it's been a while since your last interview with us at MFS, and
well, thank you. I first learned about the masterclass in the inception when you guys started on Facebook in 2015, right in about December. So I didn't start it until maybe 1 or 2 months into the new year, because it took me a while to get all the herbs when I ordered some actually from you, and also get the grape juice and what have you. But I already had switched over to like a fruit diet, because I had tried so many things in the past. Going back from the start, right now, today is like, I'm really grateful to be here. It's, July 2nd, 2022. As you mentioned earlier, it was a long journey. It was a long journey. And I really started seeing like the effects really in January of 2020. And I'll get into that a little bit later, because I want to kind of build up on the history.
The first time you went into a full MFS, I don't remember how many days you did, but I
did 63 days in the beginning of 2016. That's what I did.
Long after you started, I remember you took your first few steps that you haven't taken in a long time.
Exactly. I was in a bedridden state. I'll show some photos in a moment here. And well, the first thing that people are asking, like, oh, why were you bedridden? Even if you've had that experience, other folks or people in a wheelchair are hurting out there. A lot of people hurting. A lot of people I know that are, grinding through it. They could be bedridden if they really gave into that pressure or whatever the body is saying. But it's an experience that nobody wants to have, but it kind of shows you, like, I've been there, I've done that, and whatever got you there, get yourself out of there. There's a way. So I want to first talk about how I got in that position. For me, it's the catalyst. In 2010, I was at grad school in New York, and it seemed to be antibiotics, the powerful one. First, I was given just a mild penicillin for an inflammation. Then after they gave me the school doctor recommended ciprofloxacin, and that's it's a fluoroquinolone class of drug. Yeah, it's real dangerous, but my body couldn't handle it. Go ahead.
What kind of inflammation were you experiencing?
It was called epididymitis. It's by the testicle, and there was just no known cause for it. But they said, oh, it's real common in men. One of those things where, oh, it's real common in men. Let's give you a sugar pill, And I didn't know any better. I said, hey, sounds good to me. It's like, so the mild antibiotic did nothing. When I took that Cipro, it did. The inflammation went away, but it came back about 2 months later, and the doctor said, oh, let's give it to you again. It was my choice for wanting to take it. That was many years ago when I believed, and I just gave into the system, but I accept responsibility for that. So that seemed to be shortly after, maybe 2 months after that or so, I started getting, and that was in 2010 at the beginning, I started getting muscle issues, ligament, tendons, muscles, but I was also on my doctors way back then had told me that I was, in 2001, that I was high cholesterol. I believed that high cholesterol crap. So I was on the Lipitor, the statin, to lower the cholesterol. My number wasn't all that high. In the US, if the number's over 200, I forget the unit, you're high. So I ended up taking half of the 10 milligrams because I thought, okay, I know I react to drugs or whatever. I cut the pill in half, and I only took half, and so my numbers did go down. You know, it's one of those things where if I knew then what I knew now, but it's like I probably would have just gone on a fruit diet or not taken it altogether. But the bottom line is that in my journey, I started experiencing muscle weakness that could be attributed to both those prescription drugs. And the doctors didn't believe me that I was getting weakness or that it could have been linked back to any of these prescriptions, because they said, oh no, that's just that was months ago. Your body washed it out by now. And yeah, but I mean, yeah, it was tough. I'm in New York, and imagine a busy, crowded New York scene. We've all seen it on television. And here I am. The doctor gave me a boot to walk in because something happened to my calf, and they gave me a cane. So here I am, 38 years young, and I'm walking, and it's tough to get around. And the interesting thing is that for a month or two, I did recover, meaning I felt better before going to another doctor's appointment. And then later on in the year, 2010, it just came back with the fury. Like I went from being on crutches, walker, to a wheelchair in the span of like 2 to 3 weeks. It was really short. And then I ended up flying home at the end of that 2010, and on crutches back to Los Angeles from New York to LA. And it wasn't until January 6, 2011, that while on crutches, whatever happened to the right leg, the same issue happened to the left leg. And so it just felt like, I mean, I used to run 5 and 10Ks, a weekend warrior, but after a while, if you play tennis, if you do some type of sport, you swim, you kind of know your body a little bit. So I just thought, man, this feels really weird. And then after that January event where both legs started to have this malady, whatever is going on, I started getting nerve pain from the feet to the ankles to the hands. I couldn't wear pants. I couldn't wear socks because it felt like the skin was on fire. And that lasted for about 3 months. And I remember that when the pain finally subsided, I tried to stand up in bed because I would go to the bathroom, but I would sit in a wheelchair or whatever to go to the restroom. I realized that my muscles were gone. And that's when I did get stronger. And this might have been like May, June of 2010. And I just figured, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be the guy in the wheelchair. It's like my legs, for some reason, the muscles are not working. So I just decided I took another class at school, and now in Los Angeles. And I thought, okay, I'm going to teach, I guess I'll teach English. What am I going to be? The professor in a chair, Professor X? It's like, okay, well, screw it. I'm going to go forward with life. That's the kind of person I am. So, okay, well, oh, well. It wasn't until December of that year. And I did go to New York in a wheelchair, which is a fun experience in itself because cabs will not stop for me. And just anybody's in New York in a wheelchair and a walker. And the way to get a taxi, let's make this fun. If you want to get a taxi, because the taxis will not stop for me. When they see a guy in a wheelchair with their hand up, they know they're going to have to help you in the car or get the wheelchair. They would just pass you by. The prettiest girl that walks by, the first pretty girl, excuse me, ma'am, hey, do me a favor, can you get a cab for me? And after I said, they're just not stopping for me. They know it's going to take time. It worked like a charm. And I got to meet pretty girls. But really, the girl would get the wheelchair. And asked for a cab. Then when they said, okay, here you go. And then they would walk away. It was beautiful. So, you have to have some levity to the situation, right? Going back to before doing the masterclass, learning about it and really starting it way at the beginning of 2016, I tried all kinds of things. And once again, in 2012, whatever had affected muscle, ligaments, tendons, and the nerves had affected the whole body. For example, in I believe it was 2014 February that I was chewing peanuts, and by then already had taken off a lot of meats and foods because my digestion was bad because of the antibiotics. I did figure that out, that it was the microbiome that had suffered from that, and I couldn't digest meat or other foods. And in that time, I was chewing some nuts, and I've heard the muscles here, the mandibles, and all these other muscles in the face. It just really hurt, both of them. And for the next 2 years, up to when I did the master fast, I had to we had to blend my food. And I was eating in little of these jars. They look like baby food jars, but they're bigger. Somebody had given my sister a whole bunch of these jars that used to have jelly in them, and they were beautiful. We used to make vegetables, fruits, or foods, and they would pack my lunch for me. I'm really grateful because I needed help by this point. My sister Liz was my caretaker. I wasn't able to get up to walk to the bathroom, and I would have these urinals next to me. I would go to the bathroom if I had to do number 2 or poop or whatever, but And you could probably tell from even me talking, I'm a type A personality. I'm like a go-getter. Like, I'm going to figure this out. And before doing the master fast, once again, for folks that don't know or new to this, like the master fast system, created by Gino, and Rana is working with it too. Both of you guys like have shared all this knowledge. Rana knows about colonics and also the cleaning out the gut, and your knowledge of fasting and your experience really was invaluable. And what do I mean by that? For folks new to the master fast, I mean, it sounds like a sales pitch here, but I don't care if it is, because it's worth it. It's grape juice. I'm not going to skip the whole secret away, but it's doing grape juice a certain way. You do a binder, psyllium activated charcoal, bentonite clay. There's a recipe for that, and herbs. And the herbs really support the organs, and also just the whole body. And what I found too is like just talking through. There's also you got to move the body while you're on this fast. The body, the lymphatic system does not have a pump, and we are the pump for it. We got to move. And another thing I know, Gino, you just posted recently, like you and Rana came up with, hey, do the master fast lifestyle, doing it and according to the protocol now, not these long fasts, because what we've seen in the past is that people just aren't able to maintain them afterwards, or they start going back to a poor lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
What have you found with that?
This has been for years. We have came up with the mass fast levels so people can do it as a lifestyle. We've been talking about lifestyle since day one, but it doesn't register. Everybody's into the drama things and eventing, and it's like, it's like treating it like a circus, going to a circus and getting excited, and then it's all done, and then deal with it.
Exactly.
So we have to really drive home about how important this is a lifestyle, because that's all we've been talking about since day one. But it didn't register. So most people are just jumping in and doing a long event, and then they had to deal with something that they had no clue what to deal with, because they didn't do enough of their homework on what we were trying to share and say. And it's a big deal when you're working with the fields in a field state, on a fasting state. That's the fasting state versus matter state when you're eating. There's two completely different experiences, and they don't mix well if you do things really erratic. So you have to find that beautiful balance between the two. And the best way to do it is live it on a week-to-week basis. And when you're ready, then you can go in for the longer ones into level 7, 6, and 7s, which are really, really, really powerful, really, really deep, and is where you're going to see the magic happening. And but you have to be ready for the repercussions of when you, if you decide to break your fast and go back to eating. We don't recommend people going back to eating 7 days a week, but some people choose to do that, and that's okay. But everybody has to find, what we say is, find your level of obstructiveness, how obstructive you want to live. Because as soon as you put anything in your mouth, well, it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's just fruit, it's a level of obstruction. And then you can go higher and higher and higher obstruction from that point, because fruit is the least obstructive. And then you choose how much of a obstructive lifestyle you want to choose. And there's no right or wrong here. It's what is a place where you're going to be comfortable, happy, and thriving and loving it. And so you can love the fasting and the eating lifestyle, because most people are going to be doing both. Very few people are going to stick with just being on a fasting lifestyle forever and not going back to any food. There are people who do that, and that's fine too. But you really have to be in an emotional state to be in that place, and that usually takes many decades for most people to be able to go into those places. Some people will do it in less, but because everybody's on a different journey. But there's no rush for anything. Everything takes the time it's going to take. We don't know how long it's going to take for people to heal. Everybody has their own journeys, their own emotions, their own ancestral lineage, their own environments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's too many things that are involved in the equation for anybody to give you an answer. If anybody's telling you that they have an answer for you, I would suggest run the other way, because that's what the medical system, the medical cartel does. They tell you so many things, and they're basically playing God with what they're suggesting with you. And you can believe it or you don't have to believe it. And what I could suggest is that don't believe it because they have no clue what they're talking about. It's all theory. And
Yeah.
back to you, Ed.
No, good point, because especially in my journey with the doctors, is like I went for x-rays of the brain, the back, the spine. They were trying to figure out why I couldn't walk. I went to my general practitioner, was really nice, and here in Pomona and Los Angeles, near Los Angeles. He said, I don't know what's going on with you. He goes, find the doctor you want to see, and I'll write you, I'll help you get to see them, get this specialist. Just let me know what you need. So I found the best. What I did is I ended up looking for the teaching professors. Like I went to a rheumatologist, a neurologist, those that either were professors or teaching, because then I thought maybe they have the theory and practice and they're more up than somebody who's just had their practice for 30 years and they're not current. Well, that's how I felt at the time. And so now it's like it'd be a different story, but yeah, now it's different. And you said a key thing earlier when you talked about the emotions, and everybody's at a different place. And that's why healing occurs. It's a specialized program. It really is, because the person first has to be willing and ready. Like, hey, I want to give it a try. I mean, that's the desire. Nobody can force another person to do something. It's my body. And I was ready. I was first introduced to fasting in 2015 with that Walter Longo paper that talked about fasting. The USC professor came out with a paper. Because in my mind, it's like I'd never done any type of fasting at all, like on water. So I wanted to heal that in 2015. So I actually went hardcore. The first water fast I ever did was 5 days in a row. I just decided one day I'm going to do it. I did it wrong though, because I should have really taken like some type of like would you have like the psyllium binder, like the plasma pudding? That would have been excellent to help, because my bowels just stopped.
It's not wrong compared to if you ask people who are into water fasting, this is what they do out there. They just drink water. They do anything else. There's no support at all. That's the water fasting protocol.
Yep.
That's for I don't know how long, but it's been out for a
Yep.
while. I don't suggest people do that. They can if they want, but we don't suggest water fast because we don't even drink water and fast raw. That's something we don't do because of what we understand water is now. We use water for washing, for cleansing. We don't on the outside, washing, and we use it for making teas, but we don't use it for drinking because of the stresses it puts on the body. If somebody is living a very obstructive lifestyle, yeah, drink some water, but don't drink gallons of it like some people do. Have a glass in the morning, a glass or two, and that's about it, because your body's going to require that to dilute the obstructions. That's what the water's for. And it just puts more stress on the body when we decide to, put that fluid, that water fluid in our system. It was a big shake up to my belief system, because I had done so much research and for so many years about water and how important it was. And then the information came through saying, don't drink water anymore. I said, what? That was just a download I got. Don't drink water anymore, because many different things were happening and I was getting a lot of different information. And then I said, okay, let me see what happens here. And here we are with the Mass Fast protocol, which is on a Mass Fast website, masterfastsystem.com, as everybody who's on these calls will know.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because if you're properly hydrated, because I know in 2017 and maybe before, I know I went like a full year without touching a glass of water. But a lot of my foods, I was fruitarian for 11 months, and even when I went fruitarian that whole year, that includes like the master fast, like doing the grape juice. But I did not do I took up bananas, of course, no dates, no dried fruit, but and so I had hydrating fruit. I was going to the toilet like 4 to 5 times a day, and it wasn't a lot. It was just whatever was coming out, but I did feel really good. So going back to my first master fast in 2016, I did 63 days in a row, and I'm the kind of person that I call it the light switch. If I'm going to do something, boom, it's on. Like that's it, it's on. Like I'll do my so-called internet research or just be comfortable with it, because we have to be wise, but at the same time, you got to be ready for it. What you talked about earlier, I found that in my journey, I did get stronger. I think it was after the second master fast, because in that year I did 2. I also, in the summer, I did 40 days on watermelon. Then at the end of the year, I believe I did another 40 days. And my story is documented. It's on the Masterpass website. If you just put in my name, Ed Wellville, go down there. And the protocol is different than it is today because we were still kind of trying to work on what.
Level 7 is exactly the same, but it's just what we're suggesting is people do it on a week-to-week basis instead of jumping in for level 7 for 108 days. That's the only difference.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the grapevine wants to say hello. It's kind of windy here today, but
yeah,
this is a Concord.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same as way back then. We've made changes from everything we've learned from everyone and ourselves.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. This is a Concord grapevine. Actually, my dad, it's originally from Germany. My dad, somebody gave it to him like 40, 50 years ago. My dad he's on the other side now. He was 89 years old when he left us 4 years ago, but he brought this grapevine. It's a huge one here. And unfortunately, it got pruned a little too much when they had to do stuff in the yard here. But it's growing back nicely. And going back with my journey, like I did so many protocols. I mean, you could almost name them. Anything for gut. The master cleanse, the one that uses because sometimes people say, "What's that? The master cleanse with cayenne pepper, maple syrup, and lemons." And I did that one before. I did that one just for a few days, but there was no. It was okay, but it didn't have the power until you started doing the whole everything together, like the way that in your system. I did it beforehand, and I didn't use maple syrup because I didn't want any sugar in mine. But for some reason, whenever I do a master fast, I happen to be on the second day of a master fast, so. Whenever I do it, I'm never hungry. And my family, when I want to tell people, if you go for a fast, even for a short one, do not deprive this is my advice. Do not deprive yourself of smelling food, being in the kitchen. Today in the morning, I baked muffins, vegan muffins for family coming over because it's 4th of July weekend here in Los Angeles or in the US. And one thing I did right at the beginning, even doing that 5-day water fast, I said, I can't avoid because I was in their living room, my sister's den. I was the guest who never left. And I said, I'm going to be around food. So I might as well just breathe it in and enjoy it. I said, no, thank you. It doesn't work for me right now. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my fast. And that's really good because I know in the past, looking at the master fast, people would say like, oh, I'm torturing myself. How can I eat my grape juice and my family's doing this? Say, no, realize that you're investing in yourself. And this is a really short thing that you're in the present moment. Say, you know what, I'm worth it. I'm worth doing this. And if anything, you're going to be an inspiration to the next person. You're going to be an inspiration to yourself first. So that's why I always tell people, you know what, get used to smelling food. It doesn't matter if your husband, wife, partner, or whoever eats a hamburger right in front of you. Hey, enjoy that thing, you know. Hopefully, they have an easy time digesting that. And so that's one of the things I've seen in the past. People would always say like, oh, I can't do this. I'm torturing myself. Even like now, I did call out for a challenge. Whoever could start it. A couple of people said they would start it. And that's fine. They have to be true to themselves, not to me. And also, this is one of the toughest weeks to start, especially I understand that on 4th of July or like a holiday. Well, that's why I said start within 1 to 7 days, so within the week. That way you can be easy with yourself. What do you have to say about that? People having or making excuses or not doing it to invest in themselves?
Most of us will look for excuses not to instead of finding all the reasons to. And this is, the message that we're trying to drive home to people. Health is always a backseat for most of the majority of the population. It's a backseat thing until something happens. And then they want to be saved, right? We want to all be saved once we're in a serious situation. And I was basically in that situation myself. I got ill, and then I went. Actually, sorry, let me back up again. I got bedridden after I fasted. That was, but I started getting major problems in my back and stuff. I was getting lots of colds like crazy. I would be the first always to get colds. So that's what triggered me when I read Arnold Ehret's book. I said, wow. And then when I did my first 40-day event of Concord grape juice fast, because there was no master fast back then, that led me to my bedridden state from drowning in my own filth, which is a terminology we use, and very few have the comprehension of what that means. But we've shared that over and over and over. And the people that got themselves in trouble, one too many, are the ones who didn't follow the protocol as is suggested. Because the protocol has everything in there for a reason. Some people believe they know better and they can do whatever they like, because people will do it anyway, whatever they like. That's the way it is. But we have this protocol written because there's many, many decades of my experience and many, many, many other people's experience within the Massive Fast protocol. It's not something we pulled out of a shoebox. It's many, many decades of experiences to support and make the fasting very effective, more effective than anything else we found, and very, very simple to do. You, for the most part, most people will have more energy, especially after the couple of weeks of unloading all the garbage. Like we say, most people have at least a 5-gallon pail of shite in their physicality that needs to be dumped, and that's average, plus or minus depending on your size. So once you start moving some of that stuff out, then the energy levels start coming in and moving up. And for people who are in a serious situation like you were yourself, Ed, it's going to take a little bit longer. Who cares? It takes as long as it takes, because once you reach the point that you can function again and you have your sanity and energy and you're mobile again, everything is all worthwhile. All the time and effort makes it. You can look back and say, my goodness, what a great experience that was. Wasn't fun, but it was a great experience for me to learn, and why I went through all that. And other people can have the benefit of our failures, so they don't have to go through the difficult times and maybe kill themselves, because when you're digging really, really deep, it's not the fasting that's going to kill you per se, unless you're doing things really, really stupid. It's when you go back to eating that is going to shock the system, and the body's not ready for that highly obstructive food. That's the most dangerous part about fasting, that is very, very hard to drive home to people, because once the emotions come in, when people break a fast, as soon as you start eating, the emotion starts getting triggered. It could be in a day or 2, 3 days, and then the emotions start going cuckoo. And if you're not ready, if you don't have the understanding from many, many experiences of fasting and breaking a fast over and over, it can be overwhelming and you can get yourself in trouble. So that's why we say, with caution, read and reread the protocol, watch all the testimonials from many, many other people. There's people who have shared their mistakes they made, and cost them some not pleasant experiences, and they're all recorded on our in the Massive Fast Realm website, and the YouTube channel and the Odyssey channel. So there's lots of information for people to do their homework and be ready. I know there's many people who are in a situation where they don't have a lot of time. Well, you're going to have to spend all your time doing the research and start gathering things and get ready to live a mass fasting lifestyle, because you have many other choices out there if you want, but this we know what it does, and we know it works, and it works every single time for those people who work it, who live it and love it. Go ahead.
I did see incredible success stories over the years, especially for people that did long fast. But like you're saying, people after a while, people would post their photos if they go back and look, like before and afters, and like, or somebody has a big foot, like for some reason that it's flamed, and after all of a sudden it comes down, or even issues with the skin, or like you said, 2 people grew on this, like 2 inches, like something happened.
Oh, more than 2, but 2 people grew more than 2 inches.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know there was another lady who had said she had stretch marks. I think there were a couple there. And when she had a child, or whatever happens in I don't know the medical terminology for this, but whatever that repaired itself in the abdomen. I remember reading that one.
Yeah. Well, the skin, when we're living an obstructive lifestyle, does not have the elasticity. And that's why when women get pregnant, all that stretching of the abdomen, they get all stretch marks. That happens with people who are gain a lot of weight as well. There's just not an elasticity in the body. When you're living and loving this type of lifestyle, you will not see that happen, because the skin is very elastic, and everything will go back beautifully. You know, yeah, women who've had these stretch marks and so on and so forth, and even people who are overweight, they noticed that a lot of them diminished or disappeared after living this lifestyle, and many other things. You know, nerve regeneration, bone straightening out. You know, the C word, which we don't like to use, the big pharma words, and all kinds of different diagnoses people have, regenerating, rejuvenating, and healing themselves. Everything's possible. Doesn't matter what name they give it. Doesn't matter. You didn't have a name, which is blessing. They couldn't diagnose you. What a blessing.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because I went to so many doctors. I even about in 2014, right around that time, I went for second opinions because nobody could figure this out. This time I went to USC, their hospital. I was able to get to them, and I even saw a MS specialist. The rheumatologist that years before just whispered in my ear, just, you know what? He goes, I don't know what this is. He goes, I think it's MS. He goes, go there. They could give you medicine to help you. And I just told him, will it cure me? And after he just said, it'll help you. That's all he could say. And you know, I asked him that question. But what's interesting is that at USC, I got to see another neurologist. And after the MS specialist, she looked at me and she just said, you still have hair on your body, sir. Hormones are fine. She goes, you just don't have this classic symptoms. She goes, you know what? You might have a vitamin deficiency. She just scratched her head. But what I loved about her was that she was the first one that just said, this is not within the realm of what we know. And she looked at my X-rays that I had done a second set at that time of X-rays, which now I want that. I don't want the radiation of that. But she looked at the X-rays that I'd done the previous 2 years beforehand, and she said, wow. She said, your back is incredibly clean, the spinal cord. She goes, what are you doing? I had done 23 days on a green juice fast. I had paid the neighbor kid $200 a month, and I had a Norwalk juicer that my sister and brother-in-law helped me to buy. And I had done juice 23 days in a row. That was the first time I was practicing with doing things like that in 2014, 2015. So then I started seeing like there's other ways to do this. I want to go back to something you talked about earlier that's really important. Is like, see, in my journey, it was in 2016, I believe it was at the end of the year, that second time, I did get to walk more, meaning that I could get out, get on the grass. I had a power chair, so I would sit in the power chair, get myself out. Even sitting in the power chair was difficult. What people have to realize is that muscle ligament, I had pain in over 1,000 parts of my body. And I made this little outline of myself to show to my doctors. And anyways, I wish I would have had it here. But anyways, I had pain in the eye and the muscles of the eyes. If I went outside, the light would hit me and my eyes would get blurry. If I lifted my arm too quickly or reached for a glass of water, it felt like something tore either here, and I would feel it. My hand would turn red and the veins would pop out, and it would take days for that to recover, to heal. If I coughed, the muscles in my abs, it felt like I pulled something, and that would take like a day or two to repair. It was terrible. It wasn't fun. For a while there, I wasn't able to sleep on my back because the glutes, my butt muscles, my gluteus, those really hurt. So I had to sleep sideways and at a funny angle. And if you look at some of my old photos, I tried compression sleeves. I had to wear them on my arms and also on my calves because it just hurt so much to lay there. So I was trying to get into the most comfortable position, even if I look like you're playing that game where you step on what's it called, Twister. You're playing where you're in funny positions. But I always maintained a positive like mind frame. I think I must have been gifted and born that way. But one of the key things you said is that even though I saw myself getting stronger, then after I would get hurt and I'd come back down. And I did do exercise. I want to show some photos in a minute there, and then I'll go inside because it's getting loud here. Go ahead.
Well, the key thing is that the healing reactions, they come into the reverse as we gain them. And the latest ones will go away first. So the older ones are going to take longer, but you're going to have the feelings as if you're in an imbalanced state when you're going through these cleanses and so on and so forth, these fasts, because the body's doing work. So pain is the gate and avenue towards healing as well. Pain, is the place where you don't want to be, but that's the avenue to healing. which is tough for many people to want to face, especially the emotional pains. The physical pains, people can drown them out with many different things, but the emotional pains are very, very difficult. So yeah, that's why we kept in touch over the years, and I kept encouraging you, keep going, Ed, keep going, Ed.
You told me, I see you walking, and that was really encouraging. And in fact, even back then, a lot of people, like we've talked about before, a lot of people, especially, they spent all their resources. I mean, by then I had exhausted. I was a student, and any money that I saved up from working before, my 401k, I spent that on myself. After my insurance ran out, I went to the general hospital, which is tough. If you ever been to any general hospital, you got to stand in line with everybody, and I did that. But then with my own money, I was going to these other doctors, naturopaths or whoever, seeking people around the world, and until I exhausted every penny. I didn't care. At that point, it's like if you die, you can't take it with you. You're not King Tut, right? Where you can't take the gold with you. And I just thought, and I tried anything and everything. I read so many books. I mean, I have a list of these, but I do want to get into the emotional. But first, I'm going to show some photos, and then after, I'll be walking inside. But I'm going to switch over. Let me just see if I could share my video here. Sure. Tell me if you see that. I'm going to start in the broadcast now.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm going to walk in as I do this. So as you can see, that's in 2012. This is already where I was already in a wheelchair for a couple of years. And this might have been right around like a little bit in summertime or so. And this is already, I'm accepting, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be that guy in the chair. And what the heck? I have my nice shiny shoes on. If you notice something interesting, I don't have, like if you look at my feet, I don't have the legs. I mean, the feet rest.
Right.
I used the power. I used it without it because my legs could still move. I could stand up for a short time. I look good. And that's what confused a lot of people. Hey, you look good. Just because you look good, you smell good, you blah, 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 blah. But people don't know what goes inside the body. And then, so let me switch over to the next one. In 2012, I even went to, I went to a summer retreat. I went to a retreat of poetry, and there's that pink wheelchair in the back. It's like, I got that off of a teenager girl. And I'm strong enough to stand up for a moment and just pitch. And that's what I said. So, I mean, that's the kind of person I am, like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Strong enough to throw a baseball, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until 2013 that I just became fully bedridden. And one thing, if you notice that wheelchair behind here, I wasn't able to sit on my glutes. So what I really did is that I was putting another pillow behind me, sitting forward. It was really uncomfortable, but that's just what it was. Here's me and this is already me like doing the master breaths. That's, I believe, 2018. I'm 97 pounds at my lightest, 44 kilograms. And look at me, I mean, with a full beard. When I was 27, anything that was a brown and my beard became white. And that's just what it is. And I love myself. I'm approximately 44 kilograms. This is what people might remember me as over the years, just me laying in bed, just a head in bed. But here's another one. I kept the body moving. Even if I was hurting that day and I'm really skinny, I'm wearing my long Fruit of the Loom underwears. I flipped the label inside because I thought, oh, what the heck? I was unable to wear pants, and that stuff, the seams on the pants would hurt me. So if you look at my legs, super skinny there, but I'm doing my best to move. That's me again, full. I'm just going to show that one for a second. Just sideways. Hey, I'm real skinny, but what are you going to do? Just love myself. And this is me like walking right around the time. Like that's just me. And
there's some people who actually went skin and bones. So
yeah,
you reach skin and bones. You're very, very thin, but not skin and bones, which
yeah,
just some people go through that journey for whatever reason. We don't understand it, but we have to
yeah,
trust.
exactly. And that's just me. That's me. And just over the years, I was bedridden, but I forced myself in a loving way, said, get up, we're going to do this. And that's the answer here. And I have more photos to show in a minute, but this was the answer here. Really, like going back. What do you want to say about that? Alternating foods, or?
Do you mean the fruit?
Yeah. Like just going back to the fruit or what have you?
When you want to get out of a very imbalanced state, the only foods that you want to go to when you eat, when you're choosing to eat, is fruit. You don't want to be anywhere really outside of that. The more you go outside of that, the more challenging it's going to be, because they're obstructive, right? And fruit is being the least obstructive. It's a great time where we can, take our break from, digging deep, because when we're digging deep, there's lots going on, and not too many of us can handle all the emotional things. It's all emotional. Physical parts, most of us can handle. It's the emotional things, and then listening to other people, which negatively affects our emotion, which makes us want to stop and break our fast. So we have to have a place where we can go back and balance out. That's why doing it on a week-to-week basis is much more gentle. It still can be, is very powerful if you go into level 4, 5, or 6. So it depends what you can handle, and love yourself no matter what, at whatever level you can do. And the fruit is so easy for the body to process when we eat fruit. It's to digest fruit, fresh, ripe fruit, local would be best if it's possible. Within 20 minutes could be to maybe an hour max, depends how much fruit and what type of fruit. Your body can completely digest it. We cannot say that for leafy greens, even though you think leafy greens, leafy greens will take hours to digest, because our body is not, we're not herbivores, right? We are frugivores by what we see in nature. Actually, in this realm, but truly we are beings of light, and we can live off fields. We don't need to eat any physicality. That's a whole nother category where most people say what. But eating fruit is the easiest on the body. Eating leafy greens would be the next place, a step up into the obstruction scale that you can choose to do. Greens will actually when we're doing the MFS, if people want to slow down the detox, the digging, we suggest drinking green juices. And those who have done master fast and been on the full MFS and then decide to do the green juices go, holy mac, how much more work it takes the body to process green juices versus the grape juice. Why is that? Because it's a herb, right? It's a green leaf, and it's a lot more work for the body to process, even though it's in juice form. So that would be your step up. Your next step up would be the green juices would be much more harder to process than eating fruit. Let's put it that way. And then your leafy greens, eating the leafy greens. But these are good to help when we're wanting to build things up. The body can use those elements, because anything we put in the body's going to use it. It's forced to use it. We have no choice, even though we know the body needs no thing to build up. It doesn't need anything. The body uses all the fields to create anything it needs. That's what we have discovered, and we know as a fact, because we've seen the results of what happens on nothing. So then a step up, as I said, going up to your green leafy greens, and then you keep going more and more obstructives, meaning the heavier vegetable kingdom, like your brassica stuff, your broccoli, your cauliflowers, your root vegetables, carrots, beets, and so on and so forth. And then you can go into the grains, which are a very dangerous place because they're so inflammatory. And legumes, the higher proteins, and then you start getting into into the animal products, which are if you want to go into that realm, that's not a place where you're going to see much healing in the animal place. What happens sometimes, people say they healed with some animal products. What starts happening, it's because of the stimulation. The body uses that because it has no alternative, and it stimulates and is forcing itself to do certain things. And okay, I feel like I'm healed, and then at a price. There's always a price to pay when we're using matter state things to do the things for us, versus allowing the soul to do the work through a fasting state. So it's two completely different scenarios and two different things. And there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding of what people want to believe and so on and so forth. But this is what we've come to learn through many decades. And it's always up to it. It's always a choice. If it is to be, it's up to me. Choice is always yours into which direction you want to go. We know what works, but the ultimate choice is always yours. So, we use the mass fast protocol, which is juice, these plasma pudding, which is the psyllium charcoal clay. We use the herbal tinctures, which are powerful herbal formulas that work first and foremost with the emotion to keep the channels open and flowing. That's very, very important. Opened and flowing, because that's why we get in trouble and we drown in our own filth, is because of the stagnation. The body does not have the energy to keep things open and flowing, and we drown in our own filth. Literally speaking, we drown in our own filth. Physically, mentally, emotionally, we drown in our own filth. We can have severe healing reaction physically and emotional breakdowns that, whatever, because energy is not flowing. As soon as energy stops flowing, we have challenges and we move in an imbalance state. As soon as we keep energy flowing, we move out of the imbalance state and we move towards balance. And that's a beautiful ongoing scenario that is not a place of destination. It's an ongoing lifestyle that we choose to keep the balance happening. And these are the results. Somebody who's been bedridden and bedridden no more. You can do everything that we can do pretty much now. Have you started running at all yet?
Yes, I just started running, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago. And after, yeah, it's a little bit, it's like a walking around. And after, it's interesting because about a couple of weeks ago, I hurt my left knee when I was, out of all places, I was going to the supermarket here, to the market to get papayas. And after it was in the parking lot, I stepped in by a tree. I stepped on there was somebody in the way, and I just had a funny movement. But that thing healed up like in 7 days. And then so I ran yesterday and like I said, I'm building it back up. I'm not here to run a marathon right now. I'm here just to like feel what the body wants. The body wanted movement. I want to go back to a thing that you said earlier, because in my journey, I also found that there was no healing eating meat or meat products. And for example, in 2018, this is already where I almost felt like I wanted to push the envelope more, because I wanted to more accelerate my healing. So there was a chiropractor who was doing muscle testing, and he was giving you like supplements and herbs and whatever. And so I tried that. Like I said, I've tried so many things. And so in my past, what I would do is that if you're going to go into a system, do it truly. If you're going to read a book, read the whole book and then comment on it, or else don't comment on it. So in one of the diets he had me go on, I had grass-fed beef, and after it was just greens. And I lost a lot of weight on that one. That's probably the skinniest that I got. But I noticed that I only did that for about a week, and I lost a lot of weight, but I didn't feel any better. And after I thought, okay, this is just like I just don't need this, and I didn't plan to eat it anymore. But like I said, I was kind of like at the stage where I'm going to try different things just to see how the body reacts. For example, in that same year, if I would eat, I was very sensitive to the nightshades, like tomatoes. That summer, there were a bunch of tomatoes like in season. I would love to eat heirloom or tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, organic. And if I eat like over 4 little ones, I would start getting nerve pain in the feet. It felt like almost like the best way to describe the nerve pain. It almost feels like when you see a spider web and you see like a fly moves there, or you move a spider web and it tingles like a web, like you move the net and it's just nerve pain. Like what the? And so real quickly that told me, okay, don't do that food. See, part of my healing journey for me, it's like, I said, how do I get to the next level? And I cleared out the physical body. Oh, that's another thing we didn't get to, parasites. In my journey, I also got out parasites, even things I really can't, I'm not going to talk about here, but I mean, there's other alternatives that people talk about. I don't suggest people do these anymore. I tell myself I wasn't desperate, but it's like, I had tried turpentine. I had tried another thing I'm not going to say because it's not allowed here on the web, but it's like, these are pine spirit oils. And so, and then for, besides those, I did a lot of herbs for parasites. Kwasai, and there's a lot of, we heard of wormwood and all these other ones, and I saw stuff come out of me. I have photos. I mean, I'm not going to post them here, but if I ever talk to somebody personally, they want to see them, I'll do a quick show them on a Zoom or something. But I have a ruler next to them. I dated them. I used to work in a laboratory for 16 years, by the way. So, oh, and that's another interesting thing. Talking about healing is like, I tried the Gerson Therapy. If people have heard that one's for cancer. It was invented by Max Gerson, and they do coffee enemas. The interesting thing about the coffee enemas, there's a whole idea about that. I'm not going to talk about it in detail, but I worked at a lab from 1992 to 2000. I worked at USC. And so it was the Department of Biology. No, excuse me. It was the biochemistry lab and toxicology and molecular pharmacology. Ooh, big word, big word. The bottom line is that I worked in a fume hood. I worked with chemicals and a gas chromatography. I was running samples, and some of these smell. They smell. Sometimes they don't outgas exactly with the fume hood. Anyways, when I did the coffee enemas, this was right around 2016, 2017. But no, this was a little before. I'm sorry. It was 2015. I know, 2015. I smelled the chemicals when I was doing the coffee enemas. When I was sitting in the toilet releasing the coffee from my bowels, I held it for 30 minutes each time. And I did organic coffee. I did it 3 times a day. And I smelled it for about 2 to 3 weeks. I smelled methylene chloride. I smelled chloroform. I smelled methanol, because I worked with these for like 8 years.
You know what they are.
Yeah. And see, I had worked with these chemicals. That was like in 2000 when I left that place. And I worked again at USC for another continually 16 years in a row, believe it or not, up to 2008. But the point is that I left the chemical lab in 2000. And after the coffee enemas were in 15 years later. And it's almost like ridiculous to think, wow, I had chemicals, there's toxins stuck in the body. If nobody believes that, I don't care. I don't care. I smelled it and I thought it's gross to do. At first, when I was going to do coffee enemas or any type of enemas, I thought it was gross. And I thought, but I heard so many good things about it. And I just thought, what am I going to try? I tried X, Y, and Z. And for me, that definitely worked. And that I was just willing to do what it took. I want to shift gears now. And I do want to talk about the emotional component, because I have a feeling that people are going to ask, how did he heal himself completely? Like, I continue to do the masterclass. What I kept doing is that I kept doing it once a month. At the end of the month, I did 3 to 5 days masterclass. That's kind of like what I settled into my routine back in 2019. No matter what diet or what I was doing it. It was really tough for me to do the dry fasting. That's one thing I didn't stay true to. And I did my best on it, because every person's at a different level. But you've got to, that's what I'm saying. Anybody who does the protocol, read the freaking protocol, do it for a while, and then do whatever the monkey thing you want. Too many people I've seen in the past say, oh, what about if you do this? What if you have this? And then, like you're saying, you're not going to support them, But going back to my journey, the way I healed myself, there was an emotional component. We know that in the master fast, like, it's not just the master fast, but to me, I find this very spiritual, like, meaning that you get in tune with yourself. I made a decision to do a fast, and I made a decision to love myself and say, okay, I'm going to cleanse my body from the inside out. I like to tell my friends, and now I work with people, and I tell my clients, and I say, you wash your laundry, you wash your socks, you wash your cars, you wash your dishes. What about your body? And so that's why then after, you've seen a few people that I've sent over to you, and there's other ones that, I don't know if they check you out or not, but the bottom line is that there's a way to cleanse the body the right way. And that's why you're right. I've never seen anything clean better or really detoxify the body. And also, I also wanted to do fasting because of going to grow stem cells, like that was like the poor man's way. That's another benefit from fasting that's in the literature. After a while, I went beyond the literature. After a while, I didn't have to know how it worked. But I think for me, there was a big emotional component, meaning that I wasn't a bad person in my past, but I know I had what's called limiting beliefs. And that's why I started also working with energy medicine. And I worked with different systems. I saved up a little money here. I would write to people, and I would work with, like, some of the common ones that you might know is EFT, emotional freedom technique, where you tap. You can get a book and do that for free. Go to YouTube and get some videos. But the whole idea is that learn to cope, learn to get through it. Like, really, like, if limiting beliefs, false beliefs, like, I went through things that were not even mine, meaning maybe something from my father's belief. We know that there's some beliefs people I can't heal. you're poor. I mean, these are just really common ones. But in my journey, where it really helped with limiting beliefs, as I mentioned earlier, I had pain in over 1,000 parts of my body. If I sneeze, I was afraid to sneeze because I would physically, when you sneeze, you hold muscles in, and I would pull things. Oh, it was terrible. But then after, I would just like learn to just get rid of the fear with that. As my body started to get stronger and coming back online, I would, even getting out of bed, if something would get pulled, like in the hamstring, it was my left glute, the hamstring that runs up the glute towards the back. That one was really weak, and or I could feel it like in pain. It wasn't until I started walking and really getting out into the street and walking the sidewalks up and down. Because when I started getting a little bit stronger in 2020, I'll show some photos in a moment. I would feel like fear or anxiety, things would pop up. And I've mentioned this before on the Masterfast website that in 2017, December, I started noticing as the body got really cleaned up, I didn't realize we're all intuitive. We're all connected to source. We're all light spirit. And this is a body. This is the vehicle to come to earth with. And so I know that I started to just pick up emotions or whatever for my sister, my brother-in-law. This sounds funny, and I've said this before, but I couldn't watch cartoons like SpongeBob SquarePants. Some of the titles, the ghost ship of whatever, just that word, I noticed, and I was like, what's going on? And I did have anxiety in 2011 when this started too, but then it came back with a vengeance. And so that's when I went to Dr. Google, and I just went to how to clear emotions, or how to protect yourself from emotions or whatever. And that's when I found a lot of spiritual gurus, and I worked with a lot of people. And for me, it's like, it's going deep. And what it is, it's an act of self-love. You said that earlier too. You got to love yourself on a deeper level. And some people, it might be something real simple to clear. It might just be that I don't love myself, especially I'm actually tuning into the whole group right now. Even if you see this later on, I'm tuning into 100%. Yes. And then what I'm tuning in is that the number one is just people, they're looking into the mirror and they don't like what they see, the physical body. Right now, it's like a simple absolute truth to go into that, to knock that out, is just look beyond the mirror and look behind, look at the light, see the light, the candle flame burning bright within you, and just tell yourself you love yourself, allow that to grow, the light to shine within you, and just accept yourself. What I'm feeling is that we get these from childhood too, like traumas or whatever have you. And it's almost like embracing yourself. Like I know that in my journey, I had traumas from age 5. I had 5 separate traumas. I'll give you an example. I had 5 separate traumas from one event. I was 5 years old playing with my brother, and I jumped out of inside a window in the living room. I hit my head and it cracked open. And my brother was like, we're 5 years old. And he says, I could see your brain. My mother came down the stairs, her eyes lit up. And so then she says, oh my God, ay Dios. She speaks, we spoke Spanish growing up. And then I remember the ambulance guy taking me. I remember my dad showing up and being afraid of my father, thinking that he's going to come home from work at 5 years old. So I went through there and I cleared those traumas that seem ridiculous, but I have found that these things get stuck in the body, whether if you know it or not. We got to cleanse it out. We've got to just make peace with what comes up to the surface. And one of the greatest challenges that, hold on, is it a great challenge? I'm going to change the word.
Fasting, they all come to the surface.
Yeah. And one of the greatest things that happen is that our mind, it's really like going beyond the mind. And that's one thing I learned to do in my journey. I started reading books like the Jose Silva method years ago, but that only got me good. Like when I was in a lot of pain, I saw like, I envisioned my pain like a dial, like 10 out of 10. It was a 10 out of 10. And I remember like one particular Halloween, I think it was like 2014. On Halloween day, people are knocking it, and I'm in the other room, and my sister's telling me, hey, stand up, come look at the costumes. And I'm just feeling like I'm going to die. And I was in pain all over, sweating. And I remember that I just envisioned a dial, like, on a dial that you see like an old stove. I just imagine like going down, talking to my body, it's just 9, 8, 7, 6, but I couldn't get it any lower. And I know that that method also helped me just really get down to sleeping better. But you know what? It wasn't enough. And so I kept searching. I even did something called the Course in Miracles, which talks about like, it's really about self-love. It's like, it talks about herein lies the peace of God. And so the point is that I started going into spirituality. And so since I happen to mention the Course in Miracles, I'm just going to read this piece if that's okay, because I don't want to botch it. And this is just a book. It almost like the shape of a Bible, but I got these on, I got some of these things on like some of these books or things on Amazon, or I got them on Kindle, because my hands, if I overused them, they would just hurt. And so I could talk to Alexa, play that book for me. And it was really nice. So this one says, the whole course can therefore be summarized in a very simply this way: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So I'll just let people sit with that one for a while. So for me, it's like this program, just reading that, it was you go through and see thought forms, what's really behind. This is not really a pencil. We call it a pencil or a pen or whatever it is. It's not a pen. We call it a pen, but there's something beyond there. And it's like to break away thought from this is not a room. And it sounds almost like way out there, woo-woo. And you know what it is? It is woo-woo. And woo-woo can be good, because woo-woo means, to me, when people say, oh, that's kind of woo, that's kind of out there, woo. And it means that you're not going with the herd, the sheep. You're not going with everybody says, okay, I'm going to stand in line, take my little pill, sit down like a good boy or girl. I'm going to wear my little whatever. And I know you talk about that too. And it's okay to ask a question. It's okay to go beyond what we have learned, what we think to know to be true, just because somebody read about it in a book or because their uncle said it was true. And this is also some of the ignorant beliefs that goes on with what's known as miasms, or with family traumas or limitations, that it's been passed down to generations of limitations. It's pretty sad, but I'm just grateful to be in a position to now like really be an example to others. And it's like, and that's one reason why I had been off of Facebook for a while, or social media, because people would see me and like, hey, what are you doing? I would get little victories, and then boom, like, since I came out public, I came out of the healing closet, so to speak. Was it just last week? And I've received so many emails and messages. And somebody just, right when I was talking to Gino, somebody just called me, a new person. And no disrespect, but reach out to me. I'm not here to promote myself. I'm here actually just to give my testimony and my truth of what the Master Fast did for me. And reach for me on the side, look for me if you really want something. Fine. It's like, but right now it's like, I think that's a real big emotional the component that people are missing, because sometimes, like, if people, especially the ones who have had the great success, like what keeps them back? What's addiction? There's a habit, or there's an addiction locking them in. And and some, we see that if they have something that's really on the surface and they just make breakthroughs and they're flying, they do the Master Fast, or they just do any program, it's at the end of the day, it's going to be about self-love. It's going back. Yeah. I do want to do a Q&A if there's anybody on here, whether if it's on Facebook or anybody here, whether type something in the chat, or how do you do this, that way.
Yeah, there's some people on Facebook, I believe, if they can put in their questions, if they have any questions. Lisa's here live with us, if she's still there.
Okay. And I'll show some more photos though while people are talking, and then we could go back and forth. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me share my screen again.
So, are you standing?
Yes.
Ah, wow, I've been standing for a while. Now, all that laying down, it's time to stand now.
Exactly. Okay.
Awesome.
You saw this thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just have a couple more here. So this is about, this is hyperbaric oxygen treatment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did that.
Yeah, you mentioned acupuncture you tried, and
acupuncture, vitamin C infusion. I did a GoFundMe thing back in, I think it was 2013, and this was part of it too, but I couldn't do them all. After a while, I didn't feel great. Like my heart felt weird, and like, and so I did detox baths. This was really tough. I started this in 2019. What was really tough about doing a detox bath and just really submerging my whole body was that it was tough to, this is the first time, I should have dated this, but this is 2019. This is right at probably November 2019. It's the first time that I got into a physical bath, probably like in 10 years. And so I have some Miracle 2 soap in there. And I think I may have added something else like MMS, or sometimes I would put salt in there, really like to do a healing bath. And it was really, really nice and therapeutic. And I would just put some nice music on, and, okay, this one's dated here, June 5, 2019. That's me actually with my twin brother. By the way, yes, I have a twin brother, and he's fine. I went to a Joshua Tree here. They had a retreat where it was on, I'm going to make the picture a little bigger here. That's me in the power chair. They did a retreat that was for bioenergy healing. And I wrote to the people because it was an expensive program, and I wrote to them. I told them about my situation, and after I said, "What's the best price?" And they just gave it to me at cost. Like I don't know if it was like a couple hundred, and with free food and everything. They said, "Oh, we want you to get well." And so my brother, we didn't even have a means to get me over there. He had to buy a little one of those hitches, put it in his car, and there were quite a few people there. This is just me. There was one where everybody kind of did a thing where they lay hands on me, and this is where I started learning about bioenergy healing. And I'm still kind of skinny, but this is me back in May of 2019. I moved back to my parents' house after being with my sister, and I'm just waving to my brother. I still have boxes behind me, but once again, what am I doing? It's like, even though I'm kind of hurting, it depends. If I'm really in pain, I honor the body. But then I'm saying, I'm getting up, and this is this room where I'm standing now, and then there I am. Yeah, as you can see, I'm skinny. You can see the back of my head is not combed.
I've never seen anybody promote movement during fasting until Master Fast came out. We promoted movement.
Yeah.
No matter what, especially on the dry days. The more
Yeah.
deep you go, the more you want to make sure you move.
Yeah.
Very important. Very
Exactly. Absolutely. And remember, I had been bedridden for so many years. This is one of the last ones. I purposely put it sideways because people would just know me by, hey, he's a head on. I don't care. I love myself and whatever. It's like I let my hair grow really long. In fact, I had to cut my hair 3 times in my journey over the last 10. It's an 11-year journey because the hair would get matted. The hair would just get stuck on the bed, and then it was beyond repair. It was like really get stuck. And then this is one of the last ones. I may have posted this one on the Master Fast in 2020. That's on the bottom right is the last time I used the power chair. It was in April 2020.
Did you get any bed sores?
No, I was really conscious of that. What I did, I always kept moving. Because when I worked at the laboratory in biomedical engineering from 2000 to 2008, we made medical devices there, and they were for microstimulation in muscles. And I was very aware, keenly aware of bed sores. So I would always keep moving. That's why I kind of said, like, when the glutes hurt, I move this way and that. And I got a lot of pillows, and I kept moving. Also, I always made sure to move. Like, even if I was hurting that day, there were days that I couldn't stand for 3 to 7 days, but I said, nope, gotta move. So the interesting thing about being in a power chair, and I have other photos, is that there were mosquitoes that year. We have a lot of trees outside, and there were a lot more in that year. And we got a lot of mosquitoes that year. And trying to go down in the power chair, like going from the up position to down, it would take like, it might take 10, 15, 20 seconds, and I'd be attacked by mosquitoes. So then what I started doing, I started just walking from inside to out so I wouldn't get attacked by mosquitoes. So thanks to the mosquitoes, it really made me more active, because then I thought, I'm not gonna, and also remember, here's one thing. If you probably noticed, I never called it my wheelchair, or if I did, I take that out. I called it the wheelchair as the article. I mean, getting technical with grammar, but the point is that it was never mine. Even they're tools. The wheelchair was a tool. The walker, I had 2 walkers because I had one here, then I had one next to the toilet so that I wouldn't hurt myself trying to sit down and stand up. The crutches, and I had other tools that I used, a cane if I needed it. I didn't want to use those. And that's kind of, sometimes it might be embarrassing, it might be like not comfortable, but they're tools. So use them just as needed, even like the gel seats and the other pads, and like there's certain things. But you talk about movement, and that was the foremost on my mind, because I also had read our own Eretz. I was aware of him, the Dr. Robert Morse, I worked with him in 2015, just at the end, not him, but one of his one of their workers there, and I learned about it. But then when I learned about yours, I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it to the max, because it just felt really, really good. But yeah, but finishing on that, yeah, the movement, that was really important to me. That was really important to me. I even, like you told me, like we talked years ago, and when I was really weak, you told me, get on the side of the bed and just bounce, doop, 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 doop. And that's true, because even if everybody's listening to this, just put your hands like this and bounce up and down, and you will feel the weight here. You'll feel gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, 32 feet per second. Okay, you'll feel it going down. You'll feel it. And that movement, you do it up, down, looks kind of groovy. You're going to play some music to this, but you feel it in the body. And yeah. So you want to see if there's any questions, or if you have something to add?
Nobody's posting any questions, so just keep going if you have anything else you wanted to share. Or...
Yeah, I'm looking right here. Okay, yeah. Well, if you look behind me, I've got herbs. In my journey, I would buy some herbs and what have you. Then I started thinking, hey, I could make this recipe. I made my own. This is the kidney tea. Do you still promote this one?
No, we have our own.
Yeah, you got your own. That's right. And so I just started making my own, because if you're really, really, some people would say like, oh, I can't afford the herbs. I said, well, go get some. Go forage for some dandelion. Go get some plantain. What's that?
Yeah, you can go pick them.
Yeah, go pick them. There's no excuse. The bottom line is that you could find some. You could find, go research some herbs in your area. Go to Dr. Google and say, what herbs are there in your town or wherever you're at? Dandelion roots. I mean, you want to be wise about doing this, but I mean, there's ways around it, because so many people just stop where they're at. You could try to make your own herbs. Try to get some really. What grade of alcohol do you say? Like anything above 80%? To like, if you want to just distill your own.
Percent? We have 50% alcohol.
Okay. Yeah, because I know for distilling, sometimes people say use different ones. So in my journey, I tried so many diets. Vegan. This might sound funny, but I call myself a plant-based vegan and sometimes pescatarian. And I say that because every once in a while I have a wild-caught salmon or something like that. It might be once a month, once every 3 months, once a year. But the whole point is that I've learned to like intuitively, like kind of like muscle test or just kind of feel into it. And also I'm at it's not an excuse I make no excuses anymore. To me, it's like you just say your truth and feel how you are. I know that some people want to go back to certain foods. Like I just don't agree with dairy. I don't agree with dairy. It's like,
Say never.
yeah. Well, the whole point is that there's certain foods here and the reason why I'm bringing up the foods, and you have a very good point, was that if you're at a party, if you're somewhere, I do not deprive myself. Like, eat something, eat it with joy, even if you know it's not a comfort food. I have a client who said, oh no, I sinned again. I sinned. And I love him like a brother. And after I have to tell him, well, sin, I remember Marianne Williamson once said, like, sinning, like in the original text means, biblical text means like you missed the mark. So sometimes let's get rid of the words, the religiosity or the guilt behind it. Because when you say you sinned, usually there's guilt behind it. So if you're going to eat a food that you know that you shouldn't have that day, eat it with joy. If you just made that decision, say, okay, I'm going to have a piece of pizza, because we can't, I'm not going to disagree. If you eat something, I'm going to say, hey, I don't think that's going to work for you. Because I've had other people, you and I both know, Gino, we talked about another person who, unfortunately, she, in the psych ward, and I just sent her love and prayers, and she didn't take responsibility for her health, and she just made wrong choices. And I send that person love. And the whole point is that we cannot get guilty over our foods. We make our decisions. My foods, it's the only thing I ate from a can recently was olives, because I couldn't find some, but they were the BPA container. But it's rare that I eat anything from a can. It's usually fresh if I eat it raw or sauteed, or every once in a while, like my food looks like the color of the rainbow. I mean, I should have posted some up, but it looks like the color of the rainbow. It's beautiful, and it's a lot of it might be beets, it might be highly raw, but I do cook some of my food, meaning that if I saute something, and I'll share more about that later on if people want to know. But right now, it's like I've come to a point where I could eat certain foods. I do like quinoa, and I'll do that once in a while. And there's other foods, like if I have a bread, it's kind of rare, but it's like I'll have like Ezekiel sprouted organic bread, and it might just be one piece within that week. It's like I know some people say, oh, I have gluten or celiac. They start bringing up the names, like the medical names. But the bottom line is that if you eat something and if it doesn't agree with you, you eat something, you get bloated. Hello, don't do that. Your body's talking to you. So some of these foods, like I'm having fun trying out foods, because on my recent trip to Spain, I was strong enough to travel to Spain. I tried different foods that I normally wouldn't have tried. I told Gino, I said, I tried, that's where paella came from. And I didn't realize in Valencia it had come from there. The original paella, the formula, this was the campesino. In fact, I don't know if it's the 1500s or before. They were eating the foods that were available. So we're talking about in the fields, chicken, rabbit. They said even snails and vegetables. It could be like green beans. And so I ate some original paella, but I just had it with some chicken. And that's the first time I eat chicken in I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And Gino asked me, how did your digestion feel after that? And surprisingly, I felt fine, but I only ate it once. I didn't eat that much. And also, I also had a lot of fruit beforehand and after, and I kind of did almost like a fast after that. I'm not going to make that a habit. I don't have, I just choose to eat more like a plant-based lifestyle. It works for me, high fruit. And it's something that I actually tasted, and after I ended up making my own version of a vegan paella.
The thing about, when you're sharing what you're eating now, people will take that and have an excuse, say, oh, he ate for, and I can do it too. And they're nowhere near in a state where they can be doing this stuff, So, as we say, choose your level of obstructiveness, but you have to be in a state where you're in a very good balance, where, when you're eating things, your body's very sensitive and responsive to how you feel with them. And you don't punish yourself by doing the things over and over, as he suggests. If it doesn't feel well, don't do it again. Because if you keep doing that, you're going to be back on the saddle where you came from, and not long, because we have memory, and we've seen that happen. It doesn't take long for people to get back. We've heard of people doing 108 days plus, and then go back to exactly the same sad diet they were at. And when it took them 2 years to get to the same state that they were before they started. That's the journey they want to choose. So I'm surprised it took that long. Some people will be dead going back to those kind of foods. It's amazing some people survive. So that's the issue. But once you've done a really good thorough job of several years of cleaning, and you still enjoy it, you still enjoy eating, and you're going to be trying to dabble in different things, it's your choice to do that. Or you can stay very, very clean on a fruitarian diet. Choice is always yours. Where you want to go, what level of obstructiveness do you want to live? But don't blame anybody for your choices and for the outcomes of what you choose.
Yeah, good point. That's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation, because that way people are going to do or get into bad habits or eat like a chocolate German cake. And so, if you're at a party, if you're somewhere like, oh, and so, what, eat a little bit, make a choice that, hey, but then you're going to eat a lot of fruit. Just love what you're going to eat if you're going to do it anyways. But then I have to realize that what the implications of that is. Like, once again, it took me 11 years to get to where I'm at here. And I have a lot of experience, thanks to, especially with the MasterFest, thanks to Gino and Rana. And so, it's important, like I'm saying, if you look at a lot of my food plates, like, wow, there's just color of the rainbow, all these kind of vegetables, and I eat a lot of fruit. I got a watermelon. I mean, when I went to the store yesterday, I purchased bananas, mangoes, red raspberries, and the 99-cent store here had blackberries. Even if it's a 99-cent store, they sell products, that are a little more expensive. Like blueberries were $2, but then they'll fluctuate if they get a large stock in. But I just, I just keep eating all these foods, and they just agree with me. Like you said, like fruit, it's like, it's never disagree with me. There's beautiful fiber in there, because then people will go back. What can you comment, please, about the sugar issue? Sometimes people say, oh, there's too much sugar in this thing. Oh, I have this.
I made a mistake. You put too much sugar in fruit, according to some people. All I can say. Why do all the primates that are fruitarian, frugivores, why don't they have problems? But we, with all the knowledge and all the sciences we know better. We say that fruit has too much sugar because it's hybridized. Is that? Listen, the problem people have with fruit is not because of the fruit. It's always because of what they do and how they eat it. Fruit needs to be eaten on an empty stomach. And what do most cultures do? They eat it after a meal as like a dessert. And that's the most horrific thing you can do. It just ferments and it causes all kinds of problems. It's not the fruit's fault. It's the way you ate it's fault. So we need to eat fruit. Best time is first meal of the day is where you eat your fruit. If you're going to eat other things, do that after the fruit's digested. So, you don't want to be doing your day and then eating fruit at the end. That's not a good choice to do. There was an old fellow, retired cop that I remember I used to go see. And he's not doing this lifestyle or anything, but he was, eating a little bit cleaner and so on and so forth. And he said, when I just switched from eating the fruit after my meals to the morning, my blood sugar level dropped. I goes, I'm eating the same thing, I just changed it. Yeah, common sense. If you understand why. Don't mix your fruit. Fruit best eaten mono and alone. Best way to eat it. If you want to mix, there's fruit. What are they called? Food eating mixing charts. What do they call those again?
What proper food combination?
Combination, yeah. Combining food combining, and then fruit combining charts of which fruits, like your acids are best eaten, with all acids. You could mix them with the subacids, but you should not mix the acids with the sweet. And then the sweet, you could mix it with the subacid, but you should not mix them with the acid. So it's simple guidelines. And then melons, eat them alone or leave them alone. Melons are one thing generally, you shouldn't mix them with anything. And the papaya is kind of on a melon category. And like cantaloupes, watermelon, and all the other types of melons. Cucumber is actually a part of a melon family, but cucumber, can be, cucumbers, tomatoes, in a salad, people use cucumbers, but some people, they have a hard time digesting cucumbers. I know a few friends don't want to touch cucumbers. So, you got to remember, if you're having challenges, you need to eat them alone, and you'll see you won't have challenges. But for those people that go to fruit eating from kind of SAD type diets or any other diets, and they have challenges, it's just because the GI tract is very backed up and things are going to start fermenting and so on and so forth. And fruit we can clean up to a certain degree, but it cannot clean out at the level of at what fasting does, especially master fasting. It just can't do that. We've had many fruitarians that had so many issues, and until they came to master fast, they couldn't clean out. And once they master fasted, started cleaning out, and the challenges started going away. So the fruit is a challenge for people when they're plugged up. Yeah, it can be. So you just have to get over that, and the best way is master fast it out, and then you'll see you'll be able to eat fruit, and you won't have the challenges if you maintain the laws of fruit eating. Keep it simple, keep it mono if you can, and don't mix it, and don't eat it after meals, right? It's basic stuff. The fruit is the easiest for humans to digest. It's the easiest, and also for the animal kingdom, even though there's animals that eat anything and everything, different kinds of fruit. Fruit is very, very, very gentle on the system. It's the least karmic. That's for the spiritual side of things. It's the least karmic. Why is the least karmic? Because a fruit grows on trees, and then the tree gives up its fruit to reproduce. The fruit falls when it's a certain ripeness, right? It gives it up. And then there's the seed within the fruit, which needs to be to carry on that species. So it's given it up so it can carry on. So if we eat that fruit and we spread the seed, that's the least karmic of all foods. If you eat a green leafy type of vegetable, depending on what plant, some seeds have hundreds or thousands of seeds within the plant. So if you take that plant, you stop that reproduction of hundreds or maybe thousands of souls. So karmically, you can't compare that to a fruit. Even like a fig has the fruits, the seeds all within. When you eat the fig, the seeds don't get digested. If you chew a few, maybe, but they don't get digested. They pass through and they get spread, right? That's how the animals spread it, and so on and so forth. So that's my take on the sugar. There's no really reason for me to get into the sugar things and details. We have a little bit on our Q&A and the website, but these are all myths and theories, man-made myths and theories that fruit sugar is bad for you. Processed sugar, stay away from it. Completely different animal. You can't put that in the category of fruit sugar. You just cannot. How many people complain about drinking the Concord grape juice or whatever other juice, how much sugar is in here? Doesn't matter. God didn't make a mistake. It's man who comes up with theories that are just theories, and you can choose whatever you want to believe. We're not here to change your belief system, but once you go through the experiences we're talking about, the understanding starts expressing itself, and you will see the evidence within yourself, within your experience, that these theories that we've been taught start falling apart real fast. Nutrition, calories, etc., etc., etc. Some people want to choose to believe in all that stuff, and that's okay. I'm not one of those. I've been through that. Just as we said, whatever we put into the body, physically eating, the body is forced to use those materials. It has no other choice, no alternative. If you eat it, it's going to use them, and you're going to see results from that eating. So that's about it for there.
And one thing about the sugars that it just just recalled that in my journey, I came from that science background, but I was always open to like other possibilities. That's one thing I liked about myself, and that. But I did wonder about the sugars. I know that here in the U.S., my sugar level, like according to the paperwork, is at 106. Doctors would say, "Hey, you're kind of like getting on the board, like getting up there." That's nothing. But the point is that I went on Amazon and I purchased a blood glucose meter, because I was just wondering, like, hey, and I got the little strips, and after I actually tested my blood throughout the day, and of course there's a spike. I mean, since I'm doing the master fast now, I'm gonna take some grape juice now. Salud.
Cheers. Salud. I'm dry right now, so.
So the point is that I went ahead and I purchased, and I wanted to be wise, and I thought, okay, because it's kind of new to me, and I did I checked the blood, and you do see a normal spike, like with you eat any food, and it comes down. And I think somewhere in the paperwork it says that if people are really concerned, just drink a little bit of juice, right? You could just really spread it out. You're not going to be drinking like the whole thing.
Yeah, we're sipping, we're not guzzling. That's a problem. Especially people have sensitive blood sugar and insulin and stuff. You need to sip slowly throughout the day. You can't guzzle it. And by doing that, getting 2 to 3 liters is not an issue. It's not an issue at all. It's very easy to do that. If you're guzzling, you can't get into problems. Some people have more sensitive than others, but we've had people on insulin, this, that, and the other thing. They've been able to master fast. I haven't seen anybody who has not been able to master fast. The only ones who have not is the ones not following protocol. Go figure.
Yeah. And I want to start wrapping it up, but I also want to talk again about some of the improvements I saw on the MasterFast. Once again, on the MasterFast website, even if it's somehow taken down in the future, but this thing still exists, my story is documented there, and there's more details. But I like right off the bat, what I remember is that I had so much pain, once again, about not being able to chew, and all the pain that went away after doing. Can't remember if it was it was in 2016. Can't remember if it was after the 63-day one or after the second one. But the bottom line is that was 100% for the MasterFast. Layers of pain, like just like a physical pain. I still had the thing where after the first year, I still had the anomaly where when I would reach something with tear, but it was healing a lot faster. There was one call like in our I think it was when we did the interview in 2017. I'm still laying on the pillow, you see me like this, laying down, right? Woo! And I did, and later on, I did say that something that felt like it tore, like in one of my calves, the left calf, it healed in about 10 days. So, something like that in the past would have healed like in 3 months. Wow. Healing means that the pain goes away, and it felt like I ripped something, that I could stand now, because I was in a wheelchair. And also, here's something that interesting. I think I mentioned in the MasterFast, but 3 times this shoulder locked up, like before the MasterFast. Like meaning that in my journey that it just got fused. It got really painful. This hand turned really small, and the last time, what I would do, I would just little by little move it, but it got really small, and I thought, oh man, this hand's not working. Like then I realized, like, what am I doing? And after a couple of weeks, whatever had fused, one time it happened up here, then later it happened lower, like fused, like it was stuck. And I remember little by little, I started doing my own rehab, physical rehab, pulling it. And I did have physical rehabs coming from the state did provide somebody to come out to the house, but they were just helping me more like with general stretches. This one I had to repair on my own. Little by little, I could only, it was like a 30-degree angle or less, like, and little by little, I just kept working at getting circulation, because I thought, if you stay with your hand like this, well, it's going to stay like that. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people suffering, and if you're like that, open your hands, just love yourself. It doesn't matter if the knuckles hurt or whatever it is, just little by little, start giving yourself a self-massage. Get one of those little self-massager things. And so little by little, I started raising the hand, and I think I could still go back all the way. Yeah, it's fully back about. Another thing is that when I first started walking in 2020, since I've been bedridden for so long, the body's gonna take a while to really just start getting all the gears going. And I remember that when I would stand up, I would stand up like this, you know, because and I would still try to stretch. My brother going outside, I was outside and he told me, "Hey, the birds." He said, look at those birds. There were some neat birds. And I remember that I couldn't look up. I was like, oh my God. Like, then I realized, oh boy, I really have to start stretching. And right at the beginning of COVID, unfortunately, nobody would come out to see me anymore, because, you know, what started happening in 2020, I had started setting, because I moved to this new place. And so unfortunately, that's why I started just having to take matters into my own hands in a space of love. Let me just see if there's a question here. No, that's something else.
Lisa
So,
just mentions that it's wonderful to hear you speak about detail your journey and detail your journey. So yeah. Awesome.
no, she's absolutely welcome, and she did her own love work, and like, yeah, we used to converse years ago, so she knows my story. There's a lot of people there, but this is not really my story. Like, I never, there's a part of me that, you know, I almost, you know, because people are saying, "Wow, incredible!" Like, and you know, you're my hero, and thank you. But you know what? Please be your own hero. That's really how I feel about it. Although my thing went to 10%.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to be your own hero. Like, it's okay. I love to inspire you. I like to help people, or even do whatever I do. That's my own. I'm going to be a life coach, and that's what I'm doing. But really, you got to inspire yourself. You got to realize, like, you know, and don't do it for somebody else. Don't do it for your husband, your partner, your children. And you might say, what? No. Do it for yourself. Put yourself first. Too many people right now. I'm tuning into the group again, because some people are shy here, and because there's quite a few people on. We got some people there on Facebook, but the bottom line is that too often we put ourselves second. And what does that mean? That means put yourself first. Fill yourself up with love. Do your own personal work, and then give from the overflow. Give to your partner, your husband, your wife, your children. Or whatever the thing is. Even if I'm feeling right here that there's also, when people listen to this, some people are working too hard at what they're doing, meaning in their physical. Is it physical? Yeah, there's like a physical thing. Or there's also going to be people here with addictions. And what does that mean? Let me tune into the group, because there's no such thing as time here. And so I'm tuning into who's ever watching this. Addiction could actually be to binge watching. What I'm a big one right now, that we all see this, people on their cell phones, right? Wow, and they're walking into poles, right? They're walking down the street, boy, oh shit. And so that hitting the pole is a good thing, because it puts them back into the present moment. It puts them into the now. But you don't want to step into a pothole. The whole point is that there could be different types of addictions. I don't care if it's alcohol, drugs, pornography, surfing the web. I don't watch television. I don't watch that, and I choose not to do that. If I have to inform myself, I'll go maybe once every couple of weeks, once a month, or my brother or somebody will tell me something. No. It's also about boundaries, what I'm feeling here. There's something about boundaries that we've all got to just hold on to our truth. After a while, let's stop listening to I think you've used the word caca. Stop listening to the SHIT that's out there, and just say, you know what, I'm going to tune into the source, and we could download the information from there. Anyways, I'll let you wrap up with this. What else do you have to say, Gino?
The key thing is have a relationship with the divine, with whatever, you know, belief system you have. That's our creators, why we're here. And if people don't believe there's a creator, well, they're going to soon enough find out. As I have no doubt that the intelligence is in every grain of atom, and throughout all the nature and universe. The intelligence is everywhere to be seen. We are foolish to believe in anything that there cannot be a creator. So get that relationship sorted out with whatever way you like, through your meditations, through your religion, through whatever means that you feel comfortable, and you know, make it happen, and make that a part of your lifestyle. fasting is part of your lifestyle. Because fasting is part of a lot of spiritual and religious lifestyles. And for what reason? Because it allows us to face our soul and have a stronger connection with our Creator. If we're doing the fasting for the correct reasons, we love ourselves, we love our Creator, and we want that connection to be enforced and strengthened. So that's very, very important.
Thank you. Let me interrupt you for a minute. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's something that even in my journey in 2010, which is kind of interesting, I stopped believing in the divine and God, however I want to see it. I remember that, and it was my choice. I got confused by it. And I said, what does that mean? And I just remember that I didn't, say, oh, I'm not going to believe that, it's bad. I just put it aside, and I felt like I grew up. I was in New York doing whatever. But in my journey, I learned to go back and learn to just forgive God for whatever that my limiting belief was, whatever my subconscious had said about that, and also going into the divine. And also, one of my journey was also going back and just loving myself and realizing that I'm part of that, because I had to become disconnected from that. And every time I got stuck with something, I would cry out, and I would say, there's got to be something else. I would ask the Holy Spirit, or you might ask your higher self, your true self, the divinity within you. Like you said, I want to respect all religions and all peoples. I don't know where you were born, but the bottom line is that I knew there was something greater than myself. And it wasn't until I really started tapping into that, and that was like in my journey of 2018, and that was part of my spiritual awakening. And I am writing a book right now. I've actually got a poetry one, and I've got another one. So that stuff is coming that, and it's just part of the beautiful journey. And I would have never thought about this, years ago, like 10 years ago. Hey, what are you going to be doing there? You're going to be a life coach or an intuitive guide and healer. Like maybe you, when you were, 20 years old, hey, what are you going to be doing? Helping people empower themselves through the masterclass or whatever you have. But, thank you again for this platform to both you and Rana.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ed. Yeah, this is what it's all about, be in service to the Creator, divine Creator. And if we were all in service to the divine Creator, we wouldn't see all the havoc that we've created on this planet, that's for sure. There's simple laws of divine order, and if we all follow that, everything would be beautiful on this planet. So we really need to reflect and take a look at ourselves in the mirror, and what are we doing in this life, and how could we make things better for everybody else and for ourselves. We need to work with our relationships at home, our family, friends, partners, etc., and do the best we can. Forgiveness is huge, and just remember, everything is possible. What Ed went through in this amazing transformation and rejuvenation, just think it's possible for everyone who commits. Just do the work, and forget about time, because we only have now. Work with the now space and build and build and build, and watch how everything starts developing little by little by little. Some people it's going to happen a little faster than others. It's okay, it's going to happen as long as you continue that path. But if it's time for us to jump the fence, we get the tap on the shoulder to leave the physicality, we embrace that too, because we're not in control. If we believe we're in control, good luck when you get that tap on the shoulder. Let me see how much in control you are. So let's not be arrogant and ignorant. We're going to get the tap on the shoulder, and we can leave in a beautiful, peaceful manner, or we can leave in a not a peaceful manner, meaning in terrible pain and misery and so on and so forth. So choice is always yours. We'll wrap it up. Let's keep that plasma love always flowing. And thank you so much, Ed, for joining us again and keeping us in touch of your journey. And it's
pleasure to be here.
Awesome blessing to see you like this. I knew that you had it in you because of your attitude and everything. You've had challenges, and we went through many discussions, and I'm so happy for you, and God bless.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, sending love back. I wouldn't be here without the masterclass. And if I had tried something else, maybe it would have got me better, maybe like in 20 or 30 years, but cut it down. It doesn't matter. This is part of my journey. That's why I was like, I'm just in gratitude. Sometimes I say 11 years to walk. Could have been 12. Could have been, I don't care.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm here. This is the now. This is the moment. That's why, like, everybody just has to make the choice for themselves. It's about self-love. But thank you both.
All right. Ciao, everybody. Have a great evening or morning or wherever you are. Bye.